Smartphones in schools. Talk about a topic that really makes you go back and forth, right? I mean, tech is everywhere these days, but are we sacrificing our kids' attention spans in the process? California just dove headfirst into this whole debate with Assembly Bill 3216, the Phone Free School Act, and let me tell you, it's a doozy. So buckle up because today's deep dive is taking us straight into the heart of this tech in school showdown.
And you said it perfectly there. Dove head first because, well, AB 3216 doesn't actually ban phones outright. It's more like, how should I put it? It's more like California trying to set some ground rules, dip their toes in the water before taking the plunge.
Okay, so walk us through this. What exactly is AB 3216 trying to do? What's the goal here?
Basically, the bill says that by July 1st, 2026, every public school in California needs to have some kind of policy about smartphone use during school hours.
Makes sense. Some kind of consistency would be helpful, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about a total ban, but more about giving schools a framework, that some guidelines to address those big concerns we hear all the time. Kids not paying attention in class, cyberbullying, and of course the impact all this tech is having on kids' social skills.
Definitely important issues. But doesn't it seem like things could get messy with each school district coming up with its own rules? I mean, talk about a logistical headache for parents.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head there. And that's the real kicker. While AB 3216 wants to set some kind of statewide standard, it doesn't lay out any specific guidelines.
So it's like saying, hey, we need some rules here, but then not clarifying what those rules should be.
Pretty much. It's like giving someone a baking recipe, but leaving out the measurements for the ingredients. It just leaves a lot of room for, well, interpretation.
And probably a lot of room for confusion and maybe even some unfair situations, right? Imagine kids in one school district having totally different rules than kids in another district just because they live a few miles apart.
Precisely. And all that uncertainty surrounding AB 3216 is what has sparked some, shall we say, creative counterproposals.
Let me guess, one of these proposals involves an app.
You're on fire today. You're absolutely right. And this isn't just any app, mind you. This is a proposal for a universal school enrollment app that claims to be a better, safer, and get this, even more cost-effective solution than AB 3216.
Whoa, 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 hold on a second. Now, those are some bold claims. So we're talking about replacing all the potential chaos of AB 3216 with, what, the efficiency of an app?
That's precisely the idea they're putting forward. And honestly, it's a fascinating concept.
It definitely is. So is that what we're diving into today, this whole app versus legislation showdown?
You got it. We're diving deep into this proposal, seeing how it stacks up against AB 3216 point by point, and really exploring how it could impact everyone involved. Students, parents, teachers, even administrators.
So we've got this ambitious app proposal claiming it can do better than AB 3216 when it comes to school safety and efficiency. But before we jump into the comparison, let's talk about what this app actually does. What are we looking at here?
Okay, so imagine this. One platform, all digital, for everything related to school. Enrollment, those forms that never seem to end, emergency alerts, even talking to teachers and administrators in real time.
Sign me up. That sounds amazing. But let's break it down a bit. What are the key features they're highlighting, and how do they actually make things better for, well, everyone? Students, parents, the schools themselves.
Let's start with the paperwork because, I mean, who actually enjoys that mountain of forms at the beginning of every school year? This app streamlines that whole process. Parents can submit everything digitally, enrollment forms, permission slips, even update contact info, all from their phone.
Okay, less paperwork for parents, that's definitely a win, but I can already hear the questions swirling around data privacy. We're talking about sensitive student information here, right?
Absolutely a valid concern. And this proposal really stresses robust security measures built into the app itself. Things like encryption, two-factor authentication, really tight access controls, so only, and this is key, only authorized individuals can see that information.
That's reassuring at least. But moving beyond just making administration smoother, how does this app actually improve safety, which, let's be honest, is a major, major concern for everyone?
That's where this real-time alert system comes into play. So instead of relying on those phone trees that always seem to break down or emails that get lost in the shuffle, this app sends out instant notifications to parents, students, staff, everyone, if there's an emergency.
So in a serious situation, every second counts. This app makes sure everyone's getting accurate information right away from a source they can trust. No more waiting, no more confusion, which can be just as dangerous sometimes.
Exactly. And because the app has all that centralized student data, think about it. Authorized personnel, like first responders, They can instantly access critical information like medical conditions, emergency contacts.
So that could be a lifesaver in those really high-pressure situations. It does sound like they've really thought about the current pain points and tried to design something that addresses them head on. But what about the cost of all this? Because schools are already stretched thin, are we just adding another expense to the pile?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And it's something they address directly. The argument is that this app could actually save schools money over time. Think about it. Less paper, less administrative work, potentially even lower insurance costs with the enhanced safety features.
So there's that initial investment, of course, to actually develop and implement it, but then the idea is that it'll pay for itself down the line.
Interesting. Okay, now that we've gone over what this app is all about, let's see how it actually measures up against AB 3216. All right, so we've got AB 3216 over here trying to set some boundaries around smartphone use in California schools. And on the other side, we've got this app proposal that's taking a whole different approach. But let's get down to brass tacks here. How do these two actually compare when you put them side by side?
That's where it gets really interesting. Let's say, for example, a student forgets their permission slip for a field trip. Happens all the time, right? With AB 3216, each school has to figure out its own way of handling that. Could be a mad scramble to call parents. Could mean the student misses out altogether. Talk about a headache for everyone involved, am I right? But with this app in the picture, how does that scenario play out?
Ideally, it's completely smooth sailing. The app just sends a notification to the parent. They approve it digitally. Boom, done. Student gets to go on the field trip. No stress, no missing out.
Okay, so in terms of just pure efficiency, the app definitely has the upper hand there. But let's shift gears a little bit and talk about those high-stakes situations. What about emergency response? Because that's when things get real, right?
Exactly, and that's where those potential gaps in AB 3216 start to feel, well, a little bit more worrying. If every single district has a different communication system in place, you're bound to have inconsistencies, delays, and in an emergency, even a few seconds can make all the difference.
And the app bypasses all of that.
That's the idea. With that real-time alert system we talked about, everyone's getting the same critical information at the exact same time from a source they know they can trust. Plus, let's not forget, first responders would have instant access to those vital student medical records, emergency contacts, which, again, in a crisis, can be absolutely crucial.
It does seem like a no-brainer from a safety standpoint. But we've got to address the big question, the one that always seems to be looming: cost. Because AB 3216 basically leaves it up to individual districts to implement, which has to come with its own set of financial hurdles.
Oh, absolutely. That's the hidden cost that often gets overlooked. Districts would have to pour resources into developing policies, training staff, maybe even dealing with legal challenges down the road. It all adds up.
Whereas the app, while requiring that initial investment up front, the argument is that it streamlines those processes and actually saves schools money in the long run.
Exactly. Less paperwork, less administrative burden, and there's even the potential for lower insurance costs because of those extra safety features. It's an interesting trade-off.
It really is. So we've got this head-to-head comparison, and on paper, the app seems to be checking a lot of the right boxes, addressing a lot of the concerns that people have about AB 3216. But let's be real, we're not just talking about some theoretical exercise here. We're talking about the future of our schools, our kids. What are some of those bigger questions we need to be thinking about, the ones that go beyond just logistics?
That's what makes this whole thing so thought-provoking. It forces us to grapple with the role technology is playing in education and how quickly that role is evolving. How do we find that balance between all the amazing potential of technology while still addressing those concerns about data privacy, digital equity, making sure everyone has equal access, and the importance of actual real-life human interaction? We can't forget about that.
No, absolutely not. Those are essential questions, and while this app proposal might not be the be-all and end-all answer, it does force us to start thinking more creatively, more proactively about school safety and how we use technology in a way that truly benefits everyone.
Couldn't agree more. It's a conversation starter for sure, something to get people thinking differently, maybe a little more outside the box.
Exactly. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with this. The debate about smartphones in schools, yeah, it's not going away anytime soon. But whether you're leaning towards more regulation like AB 3216 or you're intrigued by innovative solutions like this app, the important thing is to stay informed, stay engaged, make your voice heard. The future of education, it's not a spectator sport, right?
Well said. It's
Yeah.
about our kids, and we all have a stake in making sure they're learning in an environment that's safe, that's supportive, and that prepares them for whatever the future holds.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and until next time, keep those minds curious.